Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm creating a mini slimline card that can be Happy Meal or a love card. For today's card I'm featuring the Forest Friends from Hello Bluebird and the Barn mini slimline die from Crafty Meraki. The Barn mini slimline die from Crafty Meraki, if you know me, this truly is my favorite mini slimline die out there. It's so amazing. There are many ways to create with this die. I am going to keep the frame white and I will do some ink blending on the bars that are die cut here. About the colors, maybe you're thinking, what are you going to use as colors? Now, as you know, I love ink blending with distress inks. I love the vibrancy, I love how they blend. I'm having these small bars, so it doesn't require a lot of skills when it comes to ink blending. It's just giving it enough color, well, to give it a bit of color. And then color choices. Well, for this card I actually tried to take out distress inks that don't get the attention as others do get. Like we all have our favorite rainbow colors or anything like that. I, however, decided that I wanted to not start buying tons of inks because I mostly color myself, but just for ink blending purposes, I started collecting the distress inks and the oxides. Now, I don't know if you recall, but it has been a while since I used oxides. I still have them. I don't have all of them, and I am not buying any more because at some point I will get rid of them because I just don't use them enough. So I think someone else can better give some use to them. But distress inks I will never sell until the moment that I might ever stop with this hobby. But I try to collect all the mini distress inks. I don't want the big ones. I don't have the space for big ones. So every time there are new colors coming out, I need to wait until there are 4 so that I can have some new mini distress inks. But I do collect them. And so actually these inks I barely touched. I know that I touched the pine needles here already once or twice, and the antique linen I am using for no line coloring, but for ink blending not really. So today I wanted to switch that up, and so I took a bit of, well, are these earth tones a bit, they're a bit nature wise, I don't know. Just the transition in between the yellow and the green was a bit too hard for me, but I didn't want necessarily to have to get a nice blend. So these bars are perfect for that. They give you the opportunity to play with colors to sort of get some scenery going if you want to, but you don't have to make sure that there is a gradient going on because they are separate. However, as I said, for the yellow it was just a bit too much, so I took the leftover ink on my brush and just went on that edge of the yellow, and that just made it a bit less hard. Now, image-wise, this is a mini slimline, so you can add quite a lot of images if you want to. I tend to go for clean and simple, and also with this mini slimline die, you can go for clean and simple. So I decided to feature 2 images, mostly on that bigger stroke white area. I'm going to add them there, and since I had these brownish greenish colors, I thought maybe this can represent a bit of nature that is going on, and so I decided to go with foxes because that is also a bit of that rustic or rusty brown color, so I went for that. Really simple coloring. Also, I'm mostly using the same markers for both foxes, but for one of them I will not use my darkest E18 here. I will just use all the others that I used on this fox. So there is a lot of repetition in the colors. I think there is quite a lot of color going on in the background, so I really wanted to use 2 images here. And these forest friends, I think they are so adorable. You have 2 or more for each type of critter, and this one is so playful that I was immediately drawn towards it to use it on this card. Now, I am going to give this card as a love themed card. I'm going to give it To my husband, we are almost 10 years together, not married, as you know, that was just this year. But we are almost 10 years together now, so I will give it to him the day of our 10 years anniversary, kind of being together kind of day. I don't know if that's still done when you're married and then you have an anniversary over there, but I'm just going to use every occasion to well, tell him that this is our day and such. So I will use the anniversary of our marriage, and I will use the anniversary of when we were together. There are also more occasions to give maybe presents or just give a bit of some extra time on one another in this busy life that we have. So I will just use every occasion that I get as an excuse, you know. So I'm going to give this to him, because I also thought once the card was finished and looking from a distance at the colors, it's quite masculine. And I like it. So it's not that typical red kind of vibe loved in card, which I also do love. But it's really masculine, and I think that he will truly appreciate it. Also, this one is really playful, this fox, and well, I like joking around, so I might say that normally I would say this guy is the male version, but in our specific situation, I think that I'm like the goofy person that is is continuously being annoying towards the other one. So that's me. So I just colored one. I'm going to show the other one as well. But as you saw, I'm going from darkest to lightest, and to let these foxes appear a bit rounded, I'm trying to not always go right against the edge with the darkest marker, but leave a little bit of a gap. When I have an overlap and I'm creating over there some shadows, I am going right against the edge. So it might be a bit difficult when I'm explaining it like this, but I think you can see it on the other fox more clearly as well. Like the butt, there I have not an overlap, so I just went a bit of the edge. But then just in front of the legs, the back legs, there I went right against the edge, because there we have an overlap. So that is sort of the reasoning behind where I am trying to stay away from the edge with the darkest marker and where I'm not. And as you can see here, leaving the E18, the darkest marker, out of the combination here gives it a more, well, soft vibe, but all of the other colors are exactly the same. But this gives you a completely different brown combination, and that is one of the strong suits about alcohol markers and combining them, and maybe purchasing the ones that can add something to the combinations that you already have. So I'm just working my way from darkest to lightest, and then I'm using one of the midtones to go in between the edge and the darkest marker where I left that gap. And then just the ears, really simple. And then once I fixed all the mistakes, I'm going to use the matching dies, and I'm going to die cut these two cute critters. So once die cut, I had to decide upon the sentiment, and I thought of the better together. Of course, you can take sentiments from other stamps. Also, the itty bitty stamp sets from My Favorite Things are amazing for this. And then you can place it on so many areas. And I first thought of placing it on that bigger wide area as well, but I wanted some more wiggle room for my foxes. So I went for one of the bars, and then the light fox will be sitting on that sentiment, sort of, and the other one will be playing around that sentiment. So I'm just using some white embossing powder. This one is from Ranger, super fine detail, really handy if you have really delicate or thin sentiments, like the ones from Hello Bluebird. They aren't really huge, so thin or extra fine embossing powder is recommended, because otherwise it might sort of get blurry, the sentiment. So to avoid that, I'm going to add my sort of frame from the Bar Non-Mini Slimline die on top of my card base, and then I will start inlaying all of these bars. I personally find that really, really satisfying to do. It's like a puzzle that is just clicking one into another. I love inlaying. You can also play with dimension, of course. You can die cut this multiple times a frame to just put one on top of the other to create dimension. You can also use some foam tape if you have some really thin ones. You can make a shaker out of this card. I contemplated doing that, but whenever I'm just unsure, I tend to grab back towards just the most simple version of all of the possibilities. So I just started inlaying and I was really happy to do so. So I'm just working my way upwards. And I just made sure to cover my card base immediately completely with adhesive roller. You can also add the bars just using some liquid glue. It's totally up to you. And then I'm just adding these images with some thin foam squares. My favorites are from Scrapbook Adhesives. They are really easy to get that backing off, and the thin foam squares are just a perfect height for me to get a bit of dimension but not too much of dimension. Not that you can necessarily have too much, but just, well. So I'm just trying to cover as much as possible of the back of each of my images, just to help it also through mailing. This one I'm going to give him myself, you know. So once I remove the backings, I can place it on top of the card. And then I'm going to play a little bit with one of my favorite embellishments, the heart sprinkles. These are the coffee bean heart sprinkles from Trinity stamps. There are other brands that also have the heart sprinkles. Heart sprinkles are totally in, you know, it's really rage. Not necessarily, but I really, really adore them, and they go on every card. I had once a conversation with one of you in the comments about adding hearts, and that there were people that thought that they were only for love themed cards, and I can confirm that they are lovely, adding hearts to love themed cards like this one. But this can be a happy meal as well. And I personally find that hearts can go on every card. And if there's someone that you give a card with some hearts on and they don't appreciate it, well, I would either stop giving them cards because they really don't know all of the effort and the love literally that went into it. And otherwise, if you still want to give the person that we are talking about a card, I would definitely, just on purpose, always give them a card with at least one heart on top of it. Well, that's just how I am. But with all the talking, this is the finished card. Really simple, a lot of color still, and a lot of fun to create it. I adore this mini slimline die, and I adore this stamp set, and I hope that you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed creating it. Thank you so much for stopping by. I truly appreciate you all being here, and I'll be back soon with some new crafty inspiration. Bye!